All right. How's everybody doing? I figured I'd do a stream anyways. I had a bunch of stuff going on. So I want to give everybody an update here on how the Black Friday stuff is going. So the sales are going well. Oh no, I just dragged a bunch of stuff where it shouldn't have gone. Okay, there we go. I try to grab the top bar of Streamlabs and I overshoot. So anyways, so our Black Friday sales are going well. I have an update from our shipping team. So we have all the orders caught up now, despite the higher order volume. So all EasyBoard back orders went out. There were 10 orders that came in after like 3 o'clock that have not gotten shipped out, and they will be out on. They'll be going out on Friday. So we've been doing good, keeping up with the orders. So I hope everybody's enjoying the sale. I just want to check here. I think we shipped over 250 orders today. Yeah, 263. Damn. But yeah, they're all out. So I was expecting it to be delayed further, but we were able to actually meet our normal shipping time now. So we just got backed up yesterday and on Monday, but we're back to normal on shipping. So I assume Friday we'll probably have a hard time getting everything out, but I will be packing orders along with Samantha. Even though everybody has a day off, we're going to be working out in the shop tomorrow to just get the orders packed, so on Friday USPS can pick those up. So there's no postal pickup or UPS pickup happening tomorrow because of Thanksgiving. So we are doing stuff with Thanksgiving just here at home. Just my two parents are coming over, that's it. So we're keeping it small just to be safe. So anyways, I apologize for missing the 2 p.m. mark. We were dealing with some fraud with a guy that ripped us off, so I had to do all that fun stuff, paperwork and police reports. So hopefully justice is served, because I'm a little irritated. But that's what I was dealing with. I apologize for missing the stream, but I still think I might do one on Friday. But anyways, if you guys want to post your questions in chat, you can go ahead and do that. Also, just because I want to, I have one of these that we're going to give away at the end of the stream to those who are watching. So if you want an EasyBoard for free without committing fraud against us, I'm giving one away. So we're going to be doing that towards the end of the stream. So I will, I should probably log into Nightbot now and make sure that it's all set up and ready to go. Let's see here. I will, while I'm waiting for you guys to put stuff in chat, I will give you guys some updates on other things here. So we pushed out a bunch of new firmware releases on our GitHub and our website. We added support for the 2560, most of the 2560 Creality printers. So the CR10S, S Mini, the SS5, the SS4, the Ender 5 Plus with our LCD upgrade, the CRX with our LCD upgrade, and the CR10S Pro with the LCD upgrade. Those are all on Unified 2 now. So if you're on Unified 1, you want to check out Unified 2, that's on there. We've also rolled out the support for the new Marlin Z Probe wizard. We call it the Z Offset wizard because I thought that made more sense because you're setting your offset. But it's a nice little thing on the screen that walks you through setting your Z offset if you have a bed leveling probe. So I don't have a machine handy. My test machine actually has, I have the end stop hooked up because I was fixing an issue with mesh bed leveling, manual mesh bed leveling. So if you guys were using manual mesh bed leveling, we're having an issue where it would sometimes lock up the board when you'd send the M420S1. That has been patched in the latest version, which I believe there's been a lot of version numbers over the last couple days because I've been actually working on some firmware, but I believe that's version 2.12B as in boy. But we'll see. I'm going to go to my change log here. I believe it was Unified version 2.12B as in boy or higher has the manual mesh leveling bug fixed. And what happened was I was having some weird issues in the past with the segment leveled moves option in Marlin, so I had it disabled. Well, in the latest version of Marlin, and I believe this is a bug, and I filed a bug report with Marlin so they can be aware of it. But if you disable that, it will cause the board to hard lock when you're doing bilinear bed leveling sometimes. But on manual mesh leveling, it seems to do it all the time. So I had to add that back in, did a test compile, actually tested on a printer, and it's all working correctly. So it's doing the compensation correctly. It's not doing a lockup anymore. So version 2.12B, if you were using manual mesh leveling, you should update. I do want to say in general, unless there's a specific bug or feature you're looking to add or fix on your machine, there's really no reason to update the firmware on our versions. All of ours have all the safety features on them for every single version that we put out. So it's one of those things, it's not like your computer where you have to install updates because they're security fixes. And if there's ever a major, if there's ever a major issue where we discovered a safety problem or something, we would send out an email blast and publicize it heavily to let everybody know to update. But because we've always adhered to best practices with setting up the thermal protections and whatnot on the printers, I don't think we'll ever have to do that. The only thing I could see is if there's ever a Marlin bug, then obviously that would have to be patched. But as far as I know, everything's looking pretty good on that side. But I just want to let everybody know. And you guys are being awful quiet. This is the Ask Tim. You're supposed to ask me. Otherwise, what happens is I ramble on like I'm doing now. So let's see. We got Tyler West, Michael Cassell, Maker Viking, Alan Kluge. Oh, he's got a question. Let me do the introduction. I'll come back. So we've got Miko87AU in chat, Blazeby3D, Nemo Griff. Nemo snagged one of the $10 off codes from the last stream for the Easy Board. I think there was like 6 or 7 people that use it, and then I sent it out an email blast, and I'm willing to bet it's used up by now. But instead of giving a discount at the end of the stream, if you guys are watching, whoever's at the end of the stream, we're giving away one of these. This exact board. This is one that I got as someone said it didn't work. I can't remember what they said. They said the E-driver wouldn't work. Well, they didn't heat their hot end. So I have tested it, fully flashed it back to the stock firmware, and this is otherwise new. So this is what we're giving away. It's not new, so I can't sell it as new. So I was like, I'm gonna give it away. So but yeah, let's see here. John Mack is hitting on me as usual. It's okay, I don't mind. It's got to be the beard. All right, so Alan says, hi Tim, I'm starting to put the parts together to build a Prusa MK3S Bear. Will your pancake stepper work with the factory MK3 MK3S extruder, or do I need the Bondtech gears for this? I'm aware of the the Prusa MK3S Bear kit. I would assume you're still going to need the gears. Our pancake motor will work with Bondtech extruders, with Titan extruders, that kind of stuff. So that's not an issue. But if you're looking for something with gears on it, you'll still have to source the gears from elsewhere. Give me 1 second. The wife is calling. I'm going to roll my Easy ABL in.
Hi there, Frank George here. As a doctor, I know a thing or two about probing. Indeed I do. I love something that's easy to install, easy to use, and backed by a real support team. And that's why I choose TH3D Easy ABL Kit for my 3D printers. I prefer not to waste countless hours trying to figure out how to connect things to my machine when I could be printing instead. With the TH3D Easy ABL, you get technical support, easy to use firmware, quality parts, amazing accuracy, and there's no moving parts. What are you waiting for? Head over to their site at easyabl.th3dstudio.com and get one today. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy printing. The Easy ABL kit is meant for 3D printer usage only, not for medical or rectal use.
And I'm back. Sorry, the wife was out picking up medicine for our cat for his thyroid, and she wanted to make sure that this thing was locked in my office so she could pull into the garage. So anyways, Alan, back to your pancake. You definitely are going to need gears for the extruder, and if memory serves correct, that's a printed extruder that utilizes the Bondtech gears. So I'm not aware if it'd be new to me. It's hard keeping up with all this stuff, but if those gears are integrated into a motor shaft on some pancake steppers, that'd be interesting. But typically the gears attach to a motor shaft with set screws, and you would slide the motor, or slide the gears over the motor shaft and tighten down the set screws. But our pancake stepper works with all the geared extruders, the Titans, our Tough extruder, which is a version of a Titan. It's our own brand, and the Bondtechs, obviously. So the pancake steppers are really nice, especially if you're doing direct drive, because they're lighter than the bigger motors. There's less physical mass to them. So as you're moving the hot end around, it reduces what potential ringing and stuff you can get with it. So pancakes are good for direct drive, specifically if you have a geared type setup. Now, I know there are some Bondtech setups where it's just the dual drive gears and it's not a actual like geared ratio, meaning there's another gear that drives those gears. So it goes from a gear on the motor shaft to another drive gear. Usually it's larger. And then on that drive gear are the ones that actually feed the filament. So, but yeah, but it depends on what type you're doing. So if it's the direct, where it's directly driving from the motor shaft without the larger gear, the pancake might have some trouble doing it. But if you're doing a geared Bondtech, then you'll be fine with that, because you're taking that, and it's usually like for like a Titan extruder, it's like a 3-to-1 ratio. So even though smaller motors can push filament really hard because it's geared. So, but you guys are being awful quiet in the chat. I'm trying to think of other stuff we have in the pipeline here. Oh, if you guys saw this, we've been seeing a lot of reports of the Creality version, the 4.2.2, and more than the 4.2.2, but the 4.2.7. And I think we're seeing more from the 4.2.7 boards because those are an upgrade board that Creality sells, and we're actually going to be getting those in. But the thing is, we've been seeing a lot of issues and a lot of reports from people where on Ender 5s mostly, which is what we've seen when we were developing our Easy board, is that because of interference on that board, the LCD encoder button, the actual knob, that's called the encoder, it acts like it's being pressed over and over and over again. It's because it's picking up interference from the printer. So we had encountered that in testing when we were developing our Easy board, and found out that we had to add additional filtering onto those pins, because we're working with 3.3 volt signals instead of 5 volt signals. So they're a little more susceptible to interference. Well, Creality and even like the Big Tree Tech boards, they didn't encounter that. and there's no filtering on those, and they act like the button's being pressed over and over and over again. And like I said, normally on the 8-bit boards, it's not a problem because we're dealing with a 5-volt signal. Well, we're dealing with 3.3 volts, so the fluctuations there are a little more noticeable. So we have a nice little board right here, nice little board that goes onto the back of your LCD. It's very simple. And I have the PCBs. I'm just waiting on some of the resistors. I had some. I don't know where they went, so I had to reorder them. But if you have one of these boards and you're having the issue where it's like your button's being pressed over and over again and the video is just cycling, this little board's just like, I think it's like $7 or $8 on our site. You plug it onto the EXP3 header, and then you plug your LCD cable into here, which I was like, I know I have an LCD cable here somewhere. So this sits between the printer's header and your ribbon cable, and this adds additional voltage to those pins so that they don't get screwed up by the interference. So you just pop this on there, and then your encoder will stop freaking out. So I just want to mention that we did post it out on our social media and stuff, but this will work with the Creality V 4.2.2 boards, the 4.2.7, and the SKR E3 minis if you guys are having this. So I had to actually look up what pins they're using for those buttons, make sure those pins were tolerant of the higher voltage that we're using to pull them up to, and we're all good, and even tested it on here, obviously. So if you guys are having that issue and you don't want to go with like our easy board, or you already have that board and you're just dealing with that problem, this will fix that. And this will fix the issue where the button's getting pressed over and over and over and over again, or sometimes you'll see the feed rate will just start going up or down, so because it's picking up. But this filters on all three of those functions for the encoder, so it works great. That's a simple little fix. But if you have our easy board, we have that all designed into the board already because we test things. So that's not an issue with our board, but I know there are a lot of people with those. And like I said, I did complete some thermal testing on the 427 board with the Trinamic 2225s. And even though that's a 2-layer board, the thermals on it are decent. I'm comfortable enough with the thermals to sell that board. Whereas with the previous ones, the 115, which was in the V2.2, the Creality's 8-bit silent boards that they just slapped the 22.8s on, those ran way too warm for my comfort, and I saw way too many reports of drivers failing because they were overheating. But it looks like the 427 board is decent enough. It wouldn't be my favorite board, but I'm comfortable enough selling it in our store. So, but the only caveat, and we do have this on the product page, is that if you have an Ender 5, you probably should pick this up, and this is available as an add-on for that board. And also, since that's just a standard Creality board, if you do want technical support, you can add on technical support when you purchase the board through us. So those are only they're $50 boards. But if you want to add on the technical support, once we have them in stock, you can get that. It'll be a cheaper alternative to the easy board, and you can add on the technical support if you want that one-on-one technical support. So. And we have firmware for the Ender 3 and the Ender 5 machines. So let me see if we got some questions in here. We do. Alexander, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering your name. Hey man, I have a CRX and an issue where the bed won't stop heating when I turn it on. Opened it and it looks like what I think is a solid state relay came unplugged. Oh, came unglued from some heatsink. So that's very common. The CRX and the CR10S Pro have the same style SSR. Those beds are actually DC, and they're very prone to failure. I don't know why they just didn't use their MOSFETs they've been using in the Creality CR10 series. They also use them in the Ender 5 Plus, which came out after the CRX and the CR10S Pro, and those have actually been decently reliable. But for some reason, they decided to go with a DC-DC SSR, and there's a lot higher failure rates on those. So what we do here, and I'm actually going to be pulling our CR10S Pro out of the farm to swap it out because I've already replaced it once, and the other one, the bed sometimes doesn't heat and it'll throw a thermal runaway. So what I'm going to do is actually do a video showing how to replace the SSR that they use with our MOSFET, but you would use our standard MOSFET. It's in our shop called the MOSFET V2, and I'll pull that up just so you guys can see that. But since that is a DC bed, you would want to use the MOSFET to replace it. And one of the things would be when you wire it up, I believe they're switching the positive line. And I mentioned this before. I feel like I've mentioned this before on other streams. So they're switching the positive line. So you would take the negative that's going directly to the power supply currently and move that to the positive side of the power supply. Now this is when you're replacing it with the relay, or with the replacing the relay with our MOSFET. So you would take the negative line that goes currently directly to the power supply on the negative and move it to the positive. And then the positive that goes to the solid state relay, so from the solid state relay to the bed, that would then connect to the negative bed output on our MOSFET. And then there'd be two wires going from the power supply to our MOSFET for positive and negative input. And if we look at our MOSFET here, I will share this with you and it'll hopefully make more sense. It's not as confusing as I think. I'm trying to explain things as best I can. So this is our MOSFET, and the thing is, the MOSFET is actually switching the negative line on here. So these two positive terminals here, so we have our power input from the power supply to the two power terminals on the MOSFET. But while the MOSFET itself does need the positive here to operate, the bed does not need to get connected to the positive side here. So on your CRX, the negative line is actually shorter than the positive line, and the bed's not polarity sensitive. So you can move the positive line that goes to the bed currently. So right now you have two wires coming off your bed. One is a red one that goes to your solid state relay, which is what's failing. And then the negative line goes directly to the power supply's V negative output. So you would move that over to the positive output. This terminal would not get used. And then the red one that went to the SSR would go to the hotbed negative, which is this right one here. If you notice, there's a little positive labeled on the PCB here. So there's a positive. So this would not get used, and this would be your negative output. And then you run the two wires from the power here to your actual power supply. And then for the board connection, you just include the cable, and this goes right to your heated bed output on the board, which is where your solid state relay is currently connected. So what I recommend people do is when they're replacing them on like the CRX or the CR10S Pro, you get the MOSFET along with our power wire. So if you look here, there's a link here, need power wire, click here for a 1 meter 12 gauge power pack. And this has ends already crimped onto it. So you'd use this to go from the power supply to your MOSFET, and there's your power wires. And that's about it. So you get these go from the PSU to the MOSFET. You hook the longer leg of your bed wire up to the negative output, which is the further right terminal here. And then the shorter leg would go directly to the V plus on your power supply. And that's it. I should have just explained it like that first, because that's way simpler. But that's the same, oh God, look at, see, I grabbed chat again and I threw it across the screen. So yeah, I'm not sure why they made the choice to go with the solid state relay type package for those machines over their MOSFET, because their MOSFET, like I said, hasn't had as high of a failure rate as those SSR choices that they made. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense. They should have just kept their same MOSFET instead of redoing that. Maybe they wanted to save on some extra wires, because as you see, you do have to have 2 more power wires, because right now, factory, there's only 1 wire going from the power supply to the solid state relay, and then it goes to the bed. So I guess they saved 1 wire. Is that the only drawback? They wanted to cut down cost on 1 wire? That's the only thing I can think of, is either assembly or a cost-cutting measure. But I guess assembly would be a cost-cutting measure, because if you're not having to pay someone to do the extra wire, then that does save cost on the actual wire itself and the time to install it and wire it up. But my Ender 5 Plus, the stock MOSFET, actually died about a month and a half in. I was trying not to yawn. I'm sorry, guys. I filled this up with my MAW mixture, and I drank it, but it's wearing off. That was a couple hours ago. So, But anyways, yeah, that's what I do. And like I said, on that MOSFET, the two center terminals are the positive, and if you look on the back, you can see the traces. Those are just directly connected, so you don't need to connect the positive side for the bed directly to the MOSFET, because the MOSFET's switching the negative lead or the negative leg. So, but that's what I did on my Ender 5 Plus. I did the same exact thing, but that Ender 5 Plus actually had Creality's MOSFET, but that bed pulls a lot of current, and that MOSFET wasn't happy. But I haven't had any issues with ours, and it's been running for months. I don't know when I did the video, but a month after I did our video on that is when I put that in. So, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna yawn. It's happening. Let's see here. Hugo Quigger, how long before it gets cloned? Are you talking to the MOSFET? I mean, we're using just that MOSFET is like an off-the-shelf one I get from one of my suppliers. It's actually really good. Oh, you're talking about this. I have no idea. I did edit the photos to blur out or to like obscure the resistor values, so hopefully that slows them down, but we've had our adapter boards we make copied. That's where the pin 27 was copied from our easy out. We came out with that, and then some guy in the community was like, I want the schematic. I was like, well, I just spent months working on this and refining it, and then he cloned it, and now China's making it. So, but just how it is, part of the business. And actually, we're now undercutting all the Chinese knockoffs for the boards that were copied from ours, because we're able to do them in fairly high volume, and we make all those by hand here in the U.S. So we source parts from China and other places, but we do all the assembly here and testing. So if you guys are looking for a pin 27 board for your Melzi board for like a BL Touch or a filament sensor, we have those in the shop, and they're like $6. Most of the places are selling them for 10 to 12. So take that, China. Beat you at your own game on one product. So Nemo Griff asks, Nemo Griff should be asking why I don't get myself more caffeine. I don't want to get up and leave you guys. Maybe my vape will help. Need to get something. How would you go about adjusting your VRAF when using a pancake direct drive with a BMG, i.e. determining the correct voltage on the easy board? There are mathematical calculations to figure out how many amps you need or the current. If you're using the easy board, you have it easy, no pun intended, because you can just adjust it from your LCD screen. Typically with the pancake steppers on our board, 600 milliamps or 0.6 amps of current seems to be adequate for 99% of people. But because we have our drivers hooked up in UART mode, the firmware controls the driver current. There's no potentiometers on the board, which is one of the drawbacks of Creality's boards. So, it's in the machine. I was going to grab a 427 board. Because they have the driver set in standalone mode on the 427 and the 422, you have to physically go in and turn a potentiometer with a tiny screwdriver and take a multimeter to set your VRF on those boards. Whereas with the easy board, it's all set digitally through the firmware, and you can even adjust it on your LCD screen. So I would say set the pancake stepper option in our firmware, and what that does is that just drops the current down from 800 milliamps to 600. Most of the pancake steppers are usually about 1 amp. The one we sell will handle up to 1 amp of current, but usually 600 is fine. And I highly recommend leaving Stealth Chop off, because Stealth Chop, while it's a little bit quieter than Spread Cycle, which is what we default our board to on the E-motor, it has significantly less torque. There it is again. I'm sorry, guys. I feel like I've let you down. I did turn the cube on. So, but yeah, the rule of thumb is basically run the current as high as you need to not lose steps, while also making sure the motor's not running too hot. And by too hot, I mean, if you can't keep your finger on it without getting burned or being uncomfortable, then it's too high. So that's what I use. I don't do mathematical calculations. I set the VRF to what I think should work I check the temperature on the motors. I check for lost steps. If I don't have too high temps on the motors, I don't have lost steps. That's the ideal VREF for my machine. So, I thought I saw one from Jerry here. 3 premium and Tim, what was it you disabled to compile on the BTT 1.3? There's no 1.3 from Big Tree Tech. I'm confused. What's the 1.3 mini? Is that another board? It wouldn't surprise me. They've got like a million boards out instead of just like focusing on one. They've got like a million different boards out. Unless you mean the, yeah, I'm so confused. Wait, SKR, oh, this is a Reddit post, so someone's, what board are you talking about? The only firmware we have out for an SKR board is an E3. We don't have anything for the 1.3 SKR, 1.4, 1.4 Pro, and we don't plan on it because that board is a universal one, so it's really hard to determine who has what connected and where. So, but I don't know what you mean by what disabled. Oh, you might be talking about the Z probe hookup. And I will touch on that because I keep grabbing the elements in Streamlabs instead of actually moving the window. I think I know what you're talking about, and I will show you. So, Big Tree Tech does some weird stuff with their end stop filtering that doesn't play nicely sometimes with the Easy ABL kits, but that's okay. And I think it doesn't play nicely either with the BL Touch because they have a dedicated, and I say that because they have a dedicated port just for the BL Touch that doesn't have filtering on it. Now, because they have those ports there and I don't want filtering on it, and I know their filtering's a pain, we do have a workaround for if you're getting like inconsistent triggering or it won't trigger at all, to actually run it through the Z Probe port. So if we look here, this is in the firmware folder. So if you download, move it over here. So if you download our firmware, you'll see in the firmware folder, there's an image called Easy ABL SKR E3 alternate wiring. Okay. So, and this is that picture. So you've got your Z Probe header, and this header's on their 1.0, 1.2, 1.2, yeah, 1.2 and 2.0 boards. So these last two pins here, this is a 5-pin header, and you can see the 2-pin, if you just push it in, will fit. So this pin here is the PC14 pin. This is an unfiltered signal pin, and we're going to use this for the end stop. And then we have a ground pin. So basically we want the Easy ABL to pull the signal down to ground. And then in the firmware, if you're using our firmware, we have an option called Easy ABL on Z Probe in the actual SKR. So if I pull up the SKR configuration file here, I'll show you that is in there. And what that does is that remaps the pins. So this is our configuration file for the SKR one. And you can see here, I even have a note here, see the ping file in the firmware folder for a picture. But if you uncomment this, what happens is it flips the pin that's used in the pins file to tell it to use that PC14 pin instead of the normal one that the Z end stop uses, which I can't recall off the top of my head, and uses that for the Z end stop instead of the actual Z end stop port. So that's an alternate wiring you can do, and that removes the issues with the filtering on their other end stop pins. Because if you look here, these are their end stops, and you can see they have a capacitor and 2 resistors here on each one, and just the combination of the values they have on these doesn't play nicely sometimes with the Easy ABL, but this pin here does not have any filtering on it, and it works just fine. So hopefully that's what you're talking about. Otherwise, I just went off on another tangent, but welcome to the stream. This is what happens. You guys need to ask questions here. So, but anyways, red light. Oh, I totally forgot to answer. Red light. Will that MOSFET work on your CR10S? Yes, it will. And we have brackets for a lot of the Corelli printers on that MOSFET's product page that you can print their STL files. And they mount that MOSFET in the stock location on like the Ender 5 Plus, the CR10s, that kind of stuff. Hugo says, when are you unboxing that King Room KP3 to your left? It's been there for a while. I know, it's been crazy here. It's the sale has derailed a lot of my plans. We'll see if the wife doesn't want to hang out tonight. Maybe I'll do a late night stream. Would you guys like that? And I just want to mention this again. At the end of the stream, we're giving away an easy board. So this is one that, like I said, a guy returned it because he said the e-motor wouldn't work. Well, he didn't have his hot end heated, so cold extrusion prevention was like, no, you can't extrude. It's too cold. So it's been fully tested, resealed, and this is other than it going into a guy's printer for an hour and him not being able to figure out something basic, even after we told him to heat his nozzle. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not technically new, so I figured I'd give it away. Oh God, she's watching me. Shh. The wife is in the chat, guys. Shh. I would like to unbox the KP3. I also have the Sunlu S8. I kind of want to do the Sunlu S8 before the KP3, though. What do you guys think? Oh no, Hugo says, I hope you have a better experience with the KP3S than I did. Oh, don't tell me that. I feel like I should do the Sunlu. Just watch the Sunlu be bad. I've had it sitting here for 6 months, so if it is bad, I'm basically shit out of luck. Anyways, Red Light, can you buy some tech support? Just give me some more old hardware. Do you find me some 486s or 386s yet, man? I'm willing to barter. Mike V, is possible to use the SKR E3 Turbo with the CR10S. Oh, that's that new weird one they came out with that accidentally got shipped to everybody. I don't know. You'd have to check to see. I don't know if all their boards, they market their boards, I think is 24 volt, but they should work on 12 volts. But I haven't messed with it. I've only ever put the SKR boards on my Ender 3 for testing, which is 24. 3D painting E3 V2 won't compile with easy ABL and run out. You change in firmware to get it to compile CR10. We don't have firmware that supports the CR10 for the E3s. But I think if you modify the bed size for like the Ender 3 in our firmware, I think it might work. Like if you change the bed size on X and Y and Z, or the bed size and the height, I believe the Ender 3 uses the same motor directions, and it definitely uses the same end stop logic, but the motor directions as the CR10. So, but yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, it would be no different than compiling for Ender 3. I'll even pull a copy of our latest firmware here in the VS Code, but I just did test compiles last night on all these, and they were all working. Just watch it not work. There's like some random bug. I borked something. This is going to be a more casual stream. Keep posting questions in chat, and I will answer them. I just kind of want to get on here and hang out with you guys. Like I said, had some issues dealing with some fraud that we had to address, which took a couple hours of my time, but I did it just on principle because I don't take kindly to people ripping us off. So, especially when I find out the guy has done it to other businesses in the past. So, that's why I missed the stream. I was dealing with fraud. All right, let's see. I'm firing up VS Code right meow. My volume's going in and out. Oh, you know what? Because Teams mess with my volume again. Hang on. Let me do this. Let me see if I can... Yeah, Teams screwed with my mic volume again. Let me turn it up the gain a little bit. Hang on. Is this any better? Oh, wait, hang on. 8.3, let's see. Turn my gain up. Is that any better? It looks, oh, that might be a little too hot. Oof. Let me put that down. Okay, my level... Oh, I saw it go into the red. We're not going to go that hot. Hang on. All right. No, my level was a little low. It was a little low, but we're looking better now. So what happens is when I use this microphone in Teams, Microsoft Teams is what we use for the company communications, it sets my volume in Windows to 40 when I usually have it at 80, and that's what I've set all my filters to. So what happens is it sounds quieter. It should have been higher. So I apologize. It should be a little bit louder now. I'm seeing it a little bit louder. Just a wee bit. Let's see here. Oh, we were going to firmware. Let's head over to VS Code. Whoosh. Okay, so I have our SKR E3 firmware loaded in here. And I have a fictitious Ender 3. We have a filament sensor here, and just to be clear, the filament sensor, what the hell is going on here? Hang on. My status, do not disturb. We're just going to actually quit. So the Easy Out filament sensor with the SKR E3 Mini only works with the standard variant. It does not, it could work with the LCD one, but I figured I don't want to complicate things. We're just going to be like, this is the one you use, and it's this guy here. So this adapts the board to use. So this cable goes from your SKR. This one goes to this plug on our adapter board, and then you plug your filament sensor into here. So that's the kit to use, and that's what the firmware set up. So let's see. Actually, isn't the Ender extender... Hang on. I think the 3... Hang on. What are the sizes? So you actually might not even code anything. No, you might actually. Yeah, because he doesn't have a 400 height. But anyway, so if you wanted to flash for, let's say, the CR10, you could even modify your bed size. And here, this is the default setting. Here is a 235, 235, 250. So if you change this to like 300, 400, I believe that'll work for the CR10 then. But in terms of compiling, there's no difference between compiling for a CR10 or compiling from Ender 3 in terms of things not working. So let me go into the pins file, and this should, or actually it shouldn't even be the pins file. Where is it? Number one out, run out sensors. No, I think I did do it in the pins file. Let's see here. STM32F1, SKR E3 Mini Common, and is it not the common ones? There's EasyAB on Z Pro, fill runout pin. Oh no, because they already have it defined. PC15.